Have you ever wondered how someone's life can change in just 60 seconds? How everything, your home, your family, your entire world, can be wiped away before you even wake up. On March 12, 1928, over 450 people found out exactly how fast that can happen. At 11:57 p.m., a massive wall of water, 140 feet tall, traveling at 18 miles per hour, came tearing through the San Francisco Canyon, 50 miles north of Los Angeles. Most people never even woke up. They died in their sleep. This is the true story of the St. Francis Dam disaster, America's deadliest engineering failure of the 20th century. And it all happened because one man's arrogance blinded him to obvious danger. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the night that changed dam engineering forever. Let's uncover what really happened. William Mulholland wasn't supposed to be an engineer. In the 1870s, he was a ditch digger. Literally. Self-taught, no formal education, no degree. But he was brilliant. He watched, he learned, he mastered the art of hydraulic engineering through pure determination. By 1913, Mulholland had accomplished the impossible. He built the Los Angeles Aqueduct, a 223-mile engineering marvel that brought water from the Sierra Nevada mountains to a desert city. People called him a genius. The newspapers called him a hero. Los Angeles called him the chief. He became famous, celebrated, and here's where it gets dangerous, completely unchallenged. When you're the most celebrated engineer in America, when mayors and governors hang on your every word, when you're never questioned, you start to believe you can't be wrong. By 1928, William Mulholland believed his own legend. Los Angeles was growing rapidly. The city needed more water storage. Mulholland designed the St. Francis Dam as an emergency backup for his aqueduct system. The location? San Francisco Canyon, 50 miles north of the city. The original site near the city had been considered too expensive to develop. But this canyon seemed perfect. Remote, available, cheap. Mulholland barely studied the geology. Here's the problem. He didn't fully investigate what was beneath the ground. The east side of the canyon sat on something called mica schist, a crumbly, foliated rock that expands when it gets wet. Think of it like a sponge. When water gets into it, it swells. The west side? Red conglomerate, essentially loosely cemented pebbles that literally dissolve in water. A local geologist named Dr. J. Donald Hoffman later did a simple test. He took a 2-inch piece of this rock from the dam site, put it in water, and watched it turn to sediment in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's how unstable the foundation was. But in 1926, when they filled the reservoir, nobody was checking. Mistake number 1, shallow investigation. They drilled only 4 to 5 test borings. Each one went down about 14 to 16 feet. In geology, that's basically scratching the surface. You need to go deep to understand what you're building on. Mistake number 2, the tunnel. During construction, workers blasted a 30-foot tunnel into the rock foundation. Then they filled it with concrete. But here's the thing, they left that tunnel open to water pressure from below. It became a pathway for water to seep up underneath the dam. Uplift pressure. A force that could tear the entire structure apart from beneath. Nobody calculated for this. Nobody planned for this. Mulholland didn't think about it. Mistake number 3, cheap materials. The concrete itself was degrading, rotting from the inside. Mulholland had been accused 17 years earlier of using substandard cement on other projects. Here, the same problem appeared. The concrete was breaking down even before the reservoir was full. Mistake number 4, ignoring the warning signs. February 1928. Cracks appeared in the dam. Workers reported them. Mulholland said, "It's normal. All dams have cracks." March 1928. Leaks started appearing. Small trickles of water seeping out. Workers reported them. Mulholland said, "It's fine. We're monitoring it." March 12, 1928. 5:30 p.m. The dam keeper found something alarming. Muddy water was leaking from the base. This wasn't normal seepage. This was the foundation failing. The rock was literally disintegrating into the water. The dam keeper rushed to find Mulholland. He was worried. He wanted to drain the reservoir. Mulholland inspected it, spent maybe 30 minutes looking at it, and said, "The dam is safe." Then he went home. 6.5 hours later, the dam collapsed. 11:57 p.m., March 12, 1928. The east abutment, the point where the dam met the rock face, failed first. The ancient mica schist, weakened by water infiltration, suddenly gave way. An ancient landslide reactivated. The concrete dam cracked. Water shot through like a nozzle with enormous pressure behind it. The east section was obliterated. Then the center section tore away. Finally, the west abutment collapsed. The only thing left standing was the center tombstone section, a tragic monument to engineering failure. 12.4 billion gallons of water, an entire reservoir poured out in minutes. A wall of water 140 feet high in places, traveling at 18 miles per hour, swept down the canyon. The power was unimaginable. The destruction was total. The wall of water carved a path 2 miles wide and 54 miles long, all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It took 5 hours and 27 minutes to reach the ocean. Towns in the path: Castaic Junction, Fillmore, Piru, Santa Paula. Over 1,000 houses were destroyed. Most people were asleep when it happened. They woke to find water tearing through their homes at tremendous force. Many didn't even have time to get out of their beds. Bodies were found partially clothed, ripped from their beds. Some people were never found. Over 95 people were reported missing, their bodies never recovered. But here's something important. The official death toll was 308 identified bodies and 95 missing. That's 403 people officially counted. But historians believe the real number was at least 450, possibly more than 600. Why? Because many of the victims were migrant workers, Mexican agricultural workers, Japanese laborers, people who weren't counted in official records, people whose families weren't connected to the authorities, people who essentially disappeared into the disaster and were never officially recorded. The disaster wasn't just a tragedy. It was a tragedy with a racial dimension. The recovery efforts favored white residents. Relief supplies, compensation, and recovery priority all went first to those with connections to power. Migrant workers were often excluded or deprioritized. An investigation followed. A coroner's inquest interviewed 66 people. The conclusion was clear. The dam had been built on unstable geology, with poor design, using substandard materials, and all warning signs had been ignored. The blame was placed squarely on William Mulholland. Criminal charges? None. Mulholland was 80 years old, broken. He accepted full responsibility. "Don't blame anyone else. This is my fault." He resigned as chief engineer. He withdrew from public life. 7 years later, in 1935, William Mulholland died. He spent his final years living with the weight of 450 deaths on his conscience. From hero to pariah. That's how fast it can happen when arrogance meets disaster. The St. Francis Dam disaster forced America to completely rethink dam safety. New laws were passed. Mandatory geological surveys became required for all dam projects. Uplift pressure calculations, the thing Mulholland ignored, became mandatory in all future designs. Outside peer review became standard. No more single genius making decisions alone. The disaster transformed civil engineering. Safety protocols that we take for granted today. They exist because 450 people died that night. Modern dams, modern bridges, modern engineering, they're safer because of the lessons learned from this tragedy. It's a grim truth. Progress often comes from disaster. Lives are lost so that future lives can be saved. On March 12, 1928, a wall of water killed 450 people in their sleep because one man's arrogance prevented him from accepting basic engineering principles. The St. Francis Dam disaster remains America's worst civil engineering failure of the 20th century. But it also remains a powerful reminder that no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how many past successes you've had, geology doesn't care about your ego. Physics doesn't care about your reputation. The dam that killed 450 people in their sleep taught the world that humility is just as important as intelligence in engineering. And that lesson has saved countless lives in the centuries since. If you found this story fascinating, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more forgotten historical disasters that changed the world. And drop a comment below. What shocked you most about the St. Francis Dam disaster? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.